This stream is cleared for takeoff. Hi, and welcome to our monthly live developer Q&A. Great to see so many familiar usernames in chat. We are happy to be back with you today, and we look forward to answering many of your questions this morning or afternoon, wherever you're at. My name is Jayne, and I am the Senior Community Manager for Microsoft Flight Simulator, moderating today's Q&A. Before I get started, I'd like to welcome our three guests, have them introduce themselves, starting with Jorg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jorg, Head of Flight Sim. Super good to be here. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jorg. And in the middle, we have Seb.
Hello, I'm Sebastian, Head of Asobo Studio. Happy to be here as well.
Thanks, Seb. And to our right, we have Martial.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Martial, Executive Producer on Flight Sim, and I'm also super happy to be with you tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, three. We have received a ton of great questions already in the forums, which we'll tackle in 3 different Q&A sessions today, along with some live questions in chat, of course. I do ask that you hold these questions till we are in the Q&A session, so we can see them in the chat. And we also have a special guest we'll introduce to you a little later on as well. So for now, I would like to first discuss some of the follow-up items from our previous Q&A. And I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here to our lovely deck. All right. I will kick it off to Jorg, I think, before we do that. If you have something to say here.
Well, so a couple of things I wanted to say.
Yes.
First off, sorry you were late. I was, they all gave me the evil eye. I was making screenshots and uploaded some videos for you guys. So I'm sorry that we ran almost 10 minutes late. So apologies. I just wanted to give a quick update. Last time we talked about Flight Sim launching on xCloud. Not sure how many of you checked it out, but I did want to say it was an amazing success for flight simulation. We were the #1 most played game on xCloud, or Microsoft Cloud Streaming as they call it now, which is awesome. Brought tons and tons of new people into the simming space. And just last week or this week, we launched in Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam. And that's another huge amount of people coming into sim. So I want to just say, please be gentle, welcome them. A lot of these people have never played a flight sim before. So if they run into trouble, it would be great if you can help them out. But the good news is the hobby has just got a huge fuel injection. I think we had almost 4 times as many people playing last month than we had last year. So it's awesome for all of us. So anyways, but let's go on. Just wanted to tell you how it went.
Absolutely. All right. So there are a few questions and follow-up items we wanted to clarify for you today. And that first clarification is to review with you, Seb. When last Q&A, you showed some really cool simulation tools, visualization and modeling. There was a little confusion as to when they were coming to the sim, if it's already implemented or if it's being broken up into a few different sim updates. So if you could kind of clarify with us if that was sim update 9 or anything coming in sim update 10.
Yeah, hello. So I
Hey.
unmuted. So everything I showed, every video I showed last time, except one, was all sim update 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was stuff about propellers. There was stuff about airflow visualization tool that you can turn on and off. That you can also have as a pure visualization to only visualize, have a view of how the air flows over the aircraft with already existing flight model. And you can switch on a button which actually takes that flow into account and completely changes the model. That is all. Everything I showed is in Simulate 9. I think it's in the aircraft editor. The only thing I showed, which is not yet there, is the atmospheric flow visualization. So the atmospheric flow is there. That's how the air is currently moving. I think in the video you could see that water, cities, forests all behave differently, fields, and create different types of turbulences, updraft and wind. But the tool to see this is not yet there, and this is going to become in the upcoming updates. There's There's a tool which is more for developers. It's a bit slower and has a bit more data. And we're also working on something which is more something which can be turned on all the time, which has a very low impact on performance, and which I would say for when you need to use. I would say, yeah, updraft, downdrafts can be an asset sometimes. Sometimes you use it to go up. It can also be dangerous in the mountains when there's downdraft on the other side of a hill. So a tool to visualize this and not get you in trouble by flying on the wrong side of the valley, that can be helpful for everyone. So that's coming later. That's not yet in SimUpdate 9.
Okay. Great, thank you for clarifying that. And just a quick shout out, thank you, the Flying Fabio, for that Twitch raid. We appreciate you and welcome in all new chatters who are in. We are just getting started and talking about some follow-up items from the last Q&A. All right, the next thing we'd like to ask about is Scenery Gateway. There was a definition of the project, but it was a little over a year ago the last time we talked about it. We're not sure what's changed. Would anyone be willing to re-explain the Scenery Gateway system that's coming later?
I think I can do that. So to start with, we are calling it Microsoft Flight Simulator Scenery Hub.
Okay.
And this tool is web-based. So basically, everybody that wants to contribute will be able to go to that website, and once registered, you can download a dev mode project, and you can then in the dev mode enter the edition mode. Basically, what we've done so far is mostly dedicated to data. So it only helps us to place the stock objects. For the moment, we're not talking about putting custom meshes there, but it will help us to improve all the data there. So you get better placement for all the buildings. You've got better logic and better edition for the airport itself. And once you get this completed, then you can upload the project you've done in a zip file to this platform, to the Scenery Hub. And then it can get evaluated by the community. And once the moderation is done, and if everybody is happy with your work, then it's going to be included into one of our updates, most probably some word updates. So that's it.
Maybe just to say that, so this came up. This was a top requested item last year, and then we had talked about it here. Got feedback from some of you. That was really good. And then we hired someone, and that someone has worked through the system, and we're currently essentially dry running this with Orbex. There's an Orbex team that has been working on word update generic airport improvements every word update, and they're currently using the gateway system before we roll it out wider. Cool.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for the explanation. Next, we have a question here about DLSS. Knowing DLSS is coming to the sim now, was there any reevaluation of FSR now that version 2.0 is out and massively improved?
So yes, the good news is that the team is working in a direct relationship with both manufacturers. So NVIDIA's and AMD's are working with us to help us to have the best implementation of their system. So for the DLSS, that should come for SimUpdate 9, and we are still having some artifacts and issues, but we're working with Microsoft. Well, we are working actually with Microsoft, but not only. We are working with NVIDIA. So I know that we've got like some issues with some animated textures and the water surfaces. So we are trying to fix that. So on SimUpdate 10, we'll have a great DLSS implementation. And on the AMD side, we are also working with them. Actually, they paid us a visit yesterday. So it was super cool to have them. And yes, we are hoping also to bring FSR into SimUpdate 10. And I think I'm allowed to say that we should we have also started to work on FSR 2.0. So that could be included also in maybe SimUpdate 10 is a bit early, but that should come soon, at least.
Awesome. Thank you, Martial.
SimUpdate 10 is in July, by the way, just in case.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
And Martial, for DLSS, you said SimUpdate 9 and SimUpdate 10. So which one is it?
I'm sorry, it's SimUpdate 10, obviously.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sim update 10. Fantastic.
Yeah, please help me when I'm saying some stuff like that. I'm
Will
sorry.
do.
Yeah, no, it's everything regarding the rendering engines comes in Sim update 10.
Awesome. Thank you. We did talk about previously in a Q&A about improving our telemetry for CTD reports. Is there an update on how that's going, especially for those having issues with Xbox screens going black and different CTDs without errors?
Yes. Well, so we are working on that. We are still working on that. We know that we've got like two major issues for Xbox. It's basically an out of memory issue, the most frequent one. And on PC, we've got a lot of issues which are called the device removed on Direct 12.11. Those are two things that are pretty hard to tackle. So we are trying to improve our tools in order to do so. We call it telemetry. It's more. We've got more information in telemetry to help us understanding exactly what are the use cases, but the main tool is the crash dumps we're getting, and we have tried to put a lot of data to collect the crash dumps and to get as much information as we can. So we are planning to do extra tools on that. We're also talking about having some dedicated flighting. So basically, when we are introducing more information, or if we are doing putting more debug information here, it's going to slow down the sim. So we don't want to send those tools to everybody, but maybe we'll talk about having like a dedicated group of people that could help us finding those crashes. So that's what I can say about telemetry on data putting into the dumps for CTDs.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you. And the last thing we have for a follow-up item for Jorg, do we have an update on Premium Deluxe plane mods? Are the manufacturers okay to make this now, or what is the next step for them?
I do, in fact, have an update, and the team doesn't even know. So this is, yeah. So basically, we went. So thank you all for specifying what you actually wanted and needed to do mods. So it wasn't quite everything, but it's the things that you guys wanted. The team has figured out how to do it, and it was stuck, as Jayne just said, with some large manufacturers that had some concerns. But I had a call with them yesterday, and they said it's fine. So we will make those planes moddable coming up. I don't know of a date yet because I literally just heard this yesterday afternoon, the final okay from everybody, but we can now go make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Jorg. Nice surprise. All right, moving on, we have our roadmap section. I'll turn it to you, Jorg, to talk about this.
Yeah, I just want to quickly look at the roadmap that we showed last time, even though I don't think we have any animations here. Sadly, I have all these cool animations of things, but we can't do it with Jayne's tool.
Sorry.
So last time we had talked about the Italy update, what update 9 coming in May. It's on May 17th. And we also talked about Famous Flyer 2, the GBs, super cute. Love these things. And they shipped whenever, Tuesday. So maybe it was yesterday. I forget.
Yep.
It's been a long week already. Anyways, I don't know if you saw it, but I love these planes, so I couldn't resist. Jayne, if she can run it.
Absolutely. Running the trailer. Here we go. Nice. All right.
Thanks for watching. We try hard to make these trailers fun. Anyway, so I love these planes coming out. They did an awesome job. They look super cute. They're actually kind of hard. We had a long debate about takeoff and landing just the other day. Landing is hard, but I'm sure you guys are better than me. I've been trying. Anyway, so thank you for that. And then, so let's talk a little bit about what update 9. So we announced it last time, what it is. And that's actually where I spent, the 10 minutes extra. So here's what it is, a little bit more detail. New DEM, new aerials, 4 bespoke airports, 105 POIs, 13 photogrammetry cities, which is a record, and 3 landing challenges, 3 bush trips, 3 discovery flights. And then I thought, I'll show you some pictures, but there's so many, we need to go fast.
Sure.
So here's where we have the new data. The Bing team has been doing awesome. Just, I think you know this, we have built a team of 20-something folks just to do this. They hunt for data, they grab the data, get it into the Bing system, clean up the bugs and all that. Then Gaia's building airports. Here's the first one. This one is in Sicily, Palermo. This is Elba, also very nice. This is Bozen, as I call it, Bolzano in northern Italy. And then this is the last one, which is, Jayne, this is too fast.
Holy too shit. Fast.
I can't even speak that fast. And so there were some pictures here of Malta, just to show, hey, we have a bunch of POIs in Malta. Then we're in southern Italy. And now you can go up, just to give you a sense. So typically we show you a trailer, but we have just finished the Maverick trailer that's coming up. So I thought screenshots would be the second best thing I can do here to get you at least excited. We think, I was talking to David about it just like this morning, I think, and it might be the most beautiful world update we've done. I think it's really awesome. So coming soon. Here we are in northern Italy. Keep going. Yep. Nice lakes. More lakes. There we go. Voila. Southern Tyrolia. And here, stop. Whoa. So now I made pictures of the tin cities. Okay, fine. Keep going. These are the 13 tin cities that we will ship. And they're all done. Looking great. Now you can keep going. There's 13 of those.
Got it.
Yeah, I think it's the greatest amount of cities and area that we've ever had. So this also comes from Excel and then Bing, and it looks amazing. Hope you like it.
All right, there's our last screenshot.
Yeah, these are by the way all updated. I think 2021 data, so it's brand new. What we call they call it fresh. So fresh data for Italy.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those screenshots, Jorg. Very exciting. Something fun to look forward to soon. All right, we are on to Q&A session 1. Here we go. So, first question I'll take from the forums, which was the most upvoted one for this month. And that question is, currently there are several threads open in the forums related to performance and stuttering issues on the ground. Some have found the only solution was to reinstall Windows. Some think it might be related to World Update DLCs. Others on Steam have a loading circle and stuttering. Are you currently looking into these ground performance issues, and do you have any comments on it?
Oh, of course we are. We are looking at every single one of them. The issue is that it's not always easy to reproduce. You were talking about this issue we had on Steam with some IOs being creating some stuttering. I've looked at this thread this afternoon, and we had more than 40 exchanges in the teams, and it looks like in the end it's related to the kind of hardware you have, especially for the hard drive. So sometimes it's pretty precise. It's difficult to reproduce. So in order to be sure that we are covering as much as we can, in the team we have very different systems. We are trying to mix hardware, extensions, OS settings, so we can try to cover the most use cases we can. But it's not always easy to have the very one that creates the stuttering. We also have a team dedicated to that. Obviously, this team is reading the forums, but we're also doing some internal reports. Basically, every time we are doing a new build, there's a report which is created that helps us to read the evolution of the frame rates. Are we improving when it's related to optimizations? When it's up to create new systems like the one that Sebs did, what is the cost in terms of performances? And of course, that's why also we are doing the flighting, because it's super hard to hear, being sure that we've covered every single use cases. So that's why we need the help of the community here to make sure that everything is going on, and when people are encountering some issues, that we can gather the more information we can get, because as I told you, it's sometimes a long investigation to understand exactly what's going on.
Awesome. Thank you, Martial. Question here from chat. Are we still on track for Sim Update 8 for the Wasm Xbox fix?
Sim Update 10, right?
Sorry. Yes, Sim Update 10.
So as I'm speaking, we're on track.
On track. Awesome.
Lots of testing going on.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for that. All right, next issue from the forums. The question is, there have been complaints about clouds looking too dark at high altitude. Can you adjust the cloud shading to reduce the volcanic ash look?
The difficulty here is that the cloud system is a system. So it's really physics-based rendering. It doesn't take into account specific situations. So basically, it's a system that's rendering all the data we're collecting, and it's super hard to do the right equilibrium, the right balance between situations. So we know that we've got still some improvement to do. We've got some new parameters to introduce, but with the system, it's a lot of work. And with the system, I know that, for instance, Sebastian spent some time on trying to improve the settings we've got with the system we have so far. But if we want to really improve significantly the system we've got, it means a lot of rework and maybe reboot the systems. Maybe Sam, you can.
Yeah, I can confirm. It's something where it's been brought up a lot. I mean, internally also. That's, I mean, in a lot of occasions the clouds look great, and sometimes it looks like you're flying over a volcano, not a cloud. Yeah, I think I spent about 2 weeks on it, because you start and saying, hey, just make them brighter, right? And I made them a little bit brighter, and it didn't change anything. And then I made it even more brighter and more brighter. And the problem is that, I mean, you know, lighting, dynamic lighting, for those of you who have, I don't know, ever measured lux or lumen or whatever, the sun is 100,000 times brighter than the moon. Ranges are huge, and when you make something twice as bright in the sim, it doesn't show twice as bright at all, right? It's all compressed so that it can actually be shown on the screen. And in order to have the ash effect go away, I turned the clouds 10 times brighter, and then in so many other occasions they were completely overexposed. And it's not just a question of, hey, someone made them too dark or something. The question is that internally, real clouds have a internal cloud scatter. You know, light goes in, and it scatters around, gets reflected by all the little water bubbles, and it comes back out. And there is more energy conserved in clouds than in ash, right? There is a little bit more occlusion and energy taken away, right? Because it's darker. And to get the formula right, perfectly right with our cloud system, which is fully 3D, right? We can have any form or shape or anything. We need to have perfect shadow casting internally of the clouds, and perfect internal scattering, and that just costs a lot of computational power. And for the amount of performance we dedicate to clouds right now, we get the quality we have right now, and it works well in many occasions. But when the system is a bit complex, it just gets the lighting wrong. And so yes, I mean, as Martial said, it's a system. If we did an overhaul of the system at some point and invest more performance into clouds, we can probably get this better. But it's not just something like, hey, make them brighter or darker, or it's actually much more complicated than that.
Great, thank you for that explanation, Seb, and also Martial. Appreciate it. We have a question here from chat. Parallel 42 here. Hello. Sim Update 9 is great so far. However, it's introduced a bug where glass reflections are flickering very fast. You can experience this on default aircraft, on the Junkers. Xbox users can see it. Anyone on PC sees it with a render scale less than 100. Can Asobo confirm they're aware and if they will be addressing it? On my side, I know I saw this in a forum report, so it's the devs are aware. Hopefully I could say this, but I did just get confirmation that they were able to repro, so we're looking into the issue. I didn't know if any of you had anything you wanted to add to that, but I can confirm that it is
One of the
looked at.
top 3 things we're tracking for Sim Update 9.
Great, yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for your question, Parallel 42. All right, we have another forum thread question here. At present, the sim uses a lot of system resources in the menu screens. Has the team considered lessening the burden on the GPU while not in flight?
So there is actually a way to. So I mean, the menu with the hangar and the plane in the background is very close to what's happening in a sim, right? It's rendering a plane, a cockpit, an environment.
Mm-hmm.
And the GPU works in a way that when you're not locked to a specific frame rate, it renders a frame, and when it's done, it does the next frame. So it's always working. So that's why it's using a lot of resources. Just like when you're in the sim, there's no difference. You can reduce the burden by turning on VSync, by reducing the graphic settings in the menu. So we discussed this with Martial. The issue is that we don't have currently a setting where you can say, hey, I want to have VSync on in the menu and VSync off in the sim, or I want to have a ultra in the sim and whatever medium detail in the menu.
Mm-hmm.
But basically the way to go is to reduce the burden on the graphics card. The best way to do that, if your GPU is overloaded, is to reduce the render scale, which is has an extreme impact on the GPU. And so yeah, if that's really a problem on you on the menu, usually, I mean, when I fly, I spend very little time in the menu and a lot of time in the sim. If that's something that's bothering you, I figure that's because you're spending a lot of time in the menu. And there the way to go is go into the option, reduce render scale, turn on VSync, or reduce the detail, and then once you're in the sim, turn it back on if you want to have a heavy GPU load in the sim. If you just want to reduce the GPU load all the way, then that's the way to go, is reduce render scale first, and then maybe graphic setting a little bit. It's gonna increase the CPU load and will make the GPU heat up less if that's an issue in the summer or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Seb. Next question, I see this asked a lot already. So we know multi-screen support has been in the works for a while, and that this feature is wide and tough to implement. Thank you for working on it. Can you give us a detailed update and clarify if adding multi-screen support will fix single widescreen monitor stretching? Oh, you are muted, Martial.
Yes, okay.
You're still muted, man.
I'm not muted anymore, right?
Now it's good.
You're good.
Okay, super cool. Yeah, so it's a long conversation we had internally in the team as soon as today, because we have the multi-screen working, but it's for the moment it's pretty basic. It's basically getting the same camera and being able to do some rotation, so you can have like the windshield and the two side windows on your side, and so there's this is working and this is compliant with the rendering pipeline we've got. If we want to extend that, it means more work. We have to change a bit the pipeline we are having, and also it creates some difficulties with the inputs. So internally, the question is, how far can we get for Sim Update 9, Sim Update 10 again, so for July, and see if we can expose this feature in Sim Update 10 or not. The problem is, so we had this conversation today in the team. The problem is that some people were missing because it's the spring holiday in France. So I expect to give you more information during the next Q&A.
Okay. Thank you, Martial.
Yes, it's a tough feature. Yeah.
Thank you for the update. All right, we'll move on from Q&A session 1. We still have 2 more to go. So don't fret, but we will move on to a few dev topics here. The first one to talk about VR. I saw it on the forums. I know a lot of you are wondering what we're doing with VR and any updates on it, so I'll hand that to you, Martial or Seb.
Are we starting right now?
Yes.
Okay, VR. VR is a long subject. So by the past, we had a chance to have a dedicated team on VR because we went from zero to a full feature VR implementation. Right now, this team has been merged into the core team. So we have the benefit of their work for every subject, and VR is now considered as a platform, exactly like we consider PC and Xbox as a platform. So it means that exactly like I said for GPUs and all the hardware spread in the team, so we can have the benefit of having different and several kind of systems. We have now headset VR in the teams. They are spread all in all teams, so we can test everything. Every time we are doing a feature, we can test this feature in VR. I would say that a third of the QA is testing the sim in VR. So no, it's really part of the core of the dev. It's no longer a feature which has been a bit put aside. So that's how we are tackling the VR. We are still wanting to bring some new features. So this morning, I've tested the world scale because for me it does that a lot. I used to fly the same plane I'm using in real life, the DR400, and when I'm using the VR, the plane is a bit too small, I would say. So we are going to introduce the world scale so you can change the rendering method for stereo, and then the world is getting scaled to your perception, so it's more comfortable now to use those planes in VR. We are also introducing some updates. I was talking about the LSS and FSR. We are also checking what's going on with those technology in VR. So we are not forgetting VR. VR is part of our current task. Every single day we are testing VR now. So this is how we are doing VR.
Nice, Jorg. Awesome. Thank you, Martial. Appreciate that update on VR. Now, Jorg, if you'd like to talk about anything from the wish list or bug feedback snapshot.
I think you saw here what hopefully this actually works for you guys. We rigor just to be a little bit more transparent about what active development is going on. So hopefully that makes sense. Mm-hmm. A lot of it focused on Sim Update 10 here, and then you see helicopters and gliders are planned for later this year, Q4. That's calendar year, by the way. If you want to go to the next slide, this helped us quite a bit. Yep. Just to organize what's actually popping right now, because we oftentimes looked at the bugs and the wish lists, but it was like lifetime, and it got really hard to understand what is currently popping. So here you can see, I think we are fixed, I want to say 9 out of the top 12 or something. And then the other ones, like in this case, gusts, METAR, and those types of other weather-related things, we just talked about it earlier this week, because this is nice, at least for us. So please keep voting, because it makes us very aware of what's happening right this moment. And all the other ones are under investigation. So this has helped us, because like sometimes when you go to the next slide, when you look at this, like the lifetime, and I screwed up the formatting. Good times, Jorg. Anyways, because crashes are really important. It feels like it's static, because a lot of the things that are current actually just don't have that many votes. So I think the combination of those two things helps. We're looking at both now, so please just keep engaging. I don't really have that much specific to say here, Jayne, honestly. Like if you go to the next thing, wish list is the same. This was useful for me. I'll talk about it later. I agreed immediately. It was you guys saying it, and we also had internal discussions around it. So the AN225, I'll talk about this maybe towards the end a little bit. Okay. And the other things are just are just better for us to see in this format. So, and we're investigating, as you can see. So hopefully this works. I don't really have much specific. I didn't want to go into the specifics so people can just read it.
Sure,
But
yeah.
if there's any other suggestions, please hit Jayne up or whatever. Like we want to, this is for you. I make this every Thursday. So if it's good for you guys, then I'm happy. If it's not, then we'll make adjustments.
Awesome. I did see one question in chat related to one of these items. Someone was wondering if Chinese localization was still on track for Sim
It
Update 10.
It is now. We actually, there is a discussion if we do it in World Update 10 or in Sim Update 10. And I honestly can't tell you exactly where that landed. I know it's done, but it's there's branches that it needs to get integrated in. So there's a producer who manages all this. It was Patrice, and I just need to ask him. But it's finally done. Took a long time. It slipped, unfortunately, because it was, we keep writing with every update, and so then the translators have to run after that. But I think it's now good to go.
I see.
And I can say, by the way, now I can say it. Remember the Iberia update? With the Iberia update, we wanted to ship Portuguese. Unfortunately, it didn't make it. But I think that's now also in a state where it's done. And sorry for everybody in Portugal. We tried hard, but it's coming.
Okay. Thank you, Jorg. I see a question in chat. How do you vote? If you go to our forums, which one of our mods will put a link there, there will be different sections. If you want to vote on a wishlist item, you just go to the wishlist section, find a thread you're interested in, and there's a vote button on the top left. All right, Q&A session 2. First question here. What is the status of seasons?
Yeah, well, so seasons is complicated. We actually had a pretty long discussion about this prior to a meeting today. I mean, the simplest thing one can do is change the shader on trees. But that's really, and some people have done that. I think there's actually some third-party stuff out there that's pretty good for that. But for us, the difficulty actually is we need, given that we base everything on satellite pictures and aerials, we would actually need to get, it's basically not possible. Like I lived in Texas for 15 years, for example. Texas, there's a brief moment in time when Texas is green, and otherwise it's not so green. It's mostly yellow. But depending on when we get a satellite image, you wouldn't know that, right? So there's either we have to paint in maps per section of the planet to get the climate right. Like for example, in Australia update, long debate with Orbex about the lakes in Central Australia, which have water for a little bit and mostly not. And then what did we have? We had water in it. So that for us is seasons. We need to go not just to change the trees. That's pretty simplistic. We want to do longer term things where we actually are going to look and what can we do with the satellite imagery. So then we have to talk to the provider. We want to do things with ice extraction. There is a little bit of something now. I mean, Seb, you worked on this. You want to speak to this a little bit, what you've already done?
Yeah. So, I mean, for a pilot, what is seasons, right? Seasons is the weather, most of all. Like the weather is not the same, temperatures are not the same. When you look at something which Sim Update 9, so that does not really add. There's a lot of people who are questioning turbulence. And so Sim Update 9 has a big fix, which is the formula. So the sim has always handled updrafts or downdrafts or whatever. So basically air in the world going up or down. Could be caused by mountains, could be caused by water, whatever. And when you fly, normally updraft is caused when the ground is hot, heats up air, the air becomes warm, and it goes up because it's warmer. And this is dependent on the difference in temperature between the ground and the air. And this was not correctly implemented. And so what was happening is that you had always a lot of turbulence in the summer and always no turbulence in the winter, pretty much. And so I remember last year we got always a lot of complaints in the summer. Hey, there's so many turbulence. How do we turn this off? And then the winter, the Sim Update removed the turbulence. And actually it was just the weather. So this has been fixed in Sim Update 9. So what I realized is that we should maybe at some point add a button just to turn them off. How do you get less turbulence or no turbulence right now? Just fly in the morning or in the winter. Basically, when the sun is low in the morning, the ground is still cold. The difference in ground to air temperature is small, and you get almost no updrafts. Or you fly over water, but if you fly over land, fly in the morning, fly in the winter when the sun is very low. If you want to get a lot of turbulence, go into whatever, northern hemisphere, go into mid of June, fly at 2 o'clock, 2 to 4, it's gonna get super bumpy. And that is going to, that's basically climate, right? Clouds, weather is climate. We added the snow layers last winter, coming from a Meteo Blue map. So when it's snowing, when ice on the water expands, that is handled at altitude. That is climate. What we don't have is, as Jorg said, is tree changing color. And the issue here is that's, I mean, where in Aquitaine, where we fly, trees stay green in the winter because it's mostly pine trees. So you would not turn them red or anything. If you fly in Canada, it all goes red. So that's what we talked with Jorg, said, oh, basically we need a aerial data for autumn everywhere. And yeah, but why autumn? Why not winter? And so that's really the issue. And everything else, right? In the winter, you have different, you have de-icing vehicles on airports. You have all the different things going on. So seasons to a pilot being mostly weather, and I would say from the sky, what you really see a lot is snow or ice. It's there, and everything else is much longer and harder to do. So I would say it's currently under investigation, and we need to find bigger solutions to solve that.
Okay.
I would say.
Yep.
So there's, as I said, like so I think Seb did a bunch of stuff already on the coding side and the team. We are looking at data sets now. I don't know if you played Forza Horizon at all. They did a pretty good job with their biome system. So we're going to look into biomes much more in detail than what certainly FSX or anything like that ever did. But it really is going to take time. So you've got, if it's tree colors you're after, that's simple. If it's the thing that we talk about when we talk about seasons, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, and we just need time for it.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you both. A question from Twitch chat here. Are there any plans to open the camera API for third-party devs? A large part of the community has been wanting a better and more advanced camera system. Alternatively, do you have any plans to further develop the cameras?
Well, the first one we always sort of hesitated on because we felt it should be great in the base sim. But that all being said, I understand that people might be impatient for us to get there. So the answer to the second question is yes. Clearly, we're going to make improvements. That has to be the goal, and we want to have the best system in the base sim. That ought to be the goal. Mm-hmm. But we haven't talked about it honestly in a while, and maybe we should. So we'll take this in as input.
Awesome. Next question from Twitch chat. Chunky Aviation says, question here, last night we were flying with 5 airplanes with no CFD information and noticed an intense wind gust turbulence feeling effect that we never had before. Setting to the wind to 0 didn't fix it as it did in the past. Was this intentional, a new change to wind, or a possible bug?
I think this is most probably related to what I just explained. Mm-hmm. That if people want to have a calm air, just fly in the morning. Or whenever the sun is low, right? Or very, very late in the evening. In real life, you don't do that because you can end up in the night. But early morning or winter in general, I think it's turbulence. I don't think you would have hit gusts. The weather going to 1 or 0 hasn't really changed. The only thing that changed is that, as I said, in Sim 8, you would have turbulences in the summer pretty much all the time, and pretty much nothing in the winter. And now it's much, much more related to actual weather and much more realistic because it calculates this ground air difference. So fly in the morning. If that doesn't solve it, then maybe file a bug report with the exact location, weather situation, time of day, and even the date is very important because turbulences in June or in January are completely different.
Okay. Thank you, Seb. All right, one more question here from Martial. In the forum top voted questions, there were a number of AI and live traffic issues posted in the forums. Some of those issues including slow runway vacation, planes taxiing but not taking off, etc. Can you comment on any of these issues or the future of live traffic?
So we tried to patch the system we had, which was like an inheritance from FSX, and it's not efficient. It's obvious that it's not efficient, and we are not happy of what we're getting right now. So we've decided to reboot the system. So it's going to take a bit some time, but hopefully we will be able to bring a new system through the AI based on flight plans during the fall, or maybe during the next winter. But it's a work in progress, and we are eager to bring something different and improved.
Awesome. Thank you. We are going to move on. We still have another Q&A session, and I've captured a few more questions I'm seeing right now. We will ask them in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Jorg to talk about local legend number 4.
Oh, yes. We didn't do it last time. So as you know, with every world update comes a plane. So this is the Italy Malta update. So I spent a good amount of time talking to folks, specifically in Italy. What is the most famous thing in aviation? And then they showed me the next slide, which I think I have a little delay.
Yeah.
So in 1933, there was the Chicago World's Fair. It was called the Century of Progress, and there was a general named Italo Balbo who flew with an entire squadron of planes in what is then called, next slide, the decennial. Mm-hmm. And in that decennial was the plane that we went after. So they flew from Italy to Holland to England to Iceland to Canada to Chicago, and then did a loop and flew back. And then the plane is it's the Savoia Marchetti S55, and there's only one of them left. This is actually a cool story. This is the Yahoo. It sits in Sao Paulo, or near Sao Paulo, in a museum called the TAM Museum. The TAM Museum has been closed for about 5 years, and it took us well over a year to find a person who could open the museum to us. And after trying, literally forever, we found someone with the help of all kinds of people. There's people that made a replica in Italy. So we found a contact. We flew a team down. We scanned the plane. And we now have a really great scan, 3D scan, really high detail of the last remaining S55. And then when we needed, obviously, a development partner, and so there's a new introduction of a development partner today. And so there's the plane in the sim.
Yep.
And it's Mike Johnson. And so I don't think we advertised this, but I met Mike as we were starting to work on Reno, and we looked at the Aerovoto Chodi. We're like, wow, Aerovoto Chodi. Wonder what exactly that is. And then I looked around who had ever made an Aerovoto Chodi, and I met Mike, and Mike is awesome. Some of you might know him from back in the day, but Mike, over to you.
Hi.
Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Jorg. Thanks, Jayne.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm Mike Johnson. Some of you might have known me from the past. Some crazy flight sim videos I did a long time ago for FSX. A silly one called Vectors, about a 747 getting stuck into a Rebel air race. I've been around in flight sim for a long time. I started at 12 years old on Sublogic's Jet, so even like pre-Microsoft days, kind of. I've put, I don't know how many hours into flight sim over every version that's ever been made. I've been in games since 1995, working for some big studios, some small studios. I've been a private pilot for about 25 years. I was extraordinarily lucky to have gotten to co-own an RB7 for a few years and learn to maintain it myself. And I'll tell you, if you want to know about airplanes, look after one yourself. It's an adventure. So prior to working on flight sim, Microsoft Flight Sim, I developed a Albatross for FSX. Took about 1.5 years. It was a huge undertaking. First plane I ever made. Brought a couple new features to the sim back then, some funky landing lights and stuff, all of which are now standard is so much better in Microsoft Flight Sim. I was working on a Unreal project, actually kind of a flying related game to do with birds, when Jorg called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we're doing an L39 for Reno. Are you interested?" I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that airplane." So I did most of the modeling on the airframe, the cockpit, a lot of the cockpit graphics, instruments, things like that for the Reno L39. That was super, super fun project to work on. So after that, I was talking to Jorg, and he said, "Hey, I've got this this airplane. It's a little unusual, a bit outside your wheelhouse." I think his words were, "Would you be interested?" And I said, "Well, show me." And took one look at it. Took 5 seconds. I said, "Yeah, I've got to do this. This airplane is just way too bizarre to pass up." So yeah, the S55, built in Milan, Savoia Marchetti. The original prototypes, which you saw the pictures of there, that was 1923, and it was a response to a request from the Italian Navy, who were looking for an ability to project power across the Mediterranean. They wanted a torpedo bomber and a reconnaissance aircraft. So Savoia came up with this crazy design, but I like to think of it as like it's half Louisiana airboat and half B-2 bomber. If you were to have a baby with those two, this is what you'd get. It's a twin hull catamaran, which is really kind of a neat way to do it because it's super stable in heavy seas, doesn't need wing pylons like a lot of flying boats had back in the day. The performance is not amazing. I like to sort of think of it as a boat that can fly rather than a flying boat. It's probably about 115 miles an hour on the prototype, which is the red one you see. But the later models, the X, the final one that went on the bicentennial flight, that was much faster, about 150 miles an hour. The thing that these things brought to the table in aviation at the time, given that they weren't first to do a lot of things, was they brought range, endurance, and they brought reliability. That was really the big contribution. They did a number of these raids with Italo Balbo from various places, from to South America and back several times, and then the big one to Chicago for the World's Fair. And I can't imagine what it was like to see 24 of these things landing in formation on Lake Michigan, right on the Chicago waterfront. And there's actually a street in Chicago named Balbo Drive in honor of that achievement. And they flew from, I think it was Rome, all the way to Chicago in less than 48 hours. And they only lost one airplane along the way, which was, at that time was a pretty amazing achievement. Back then, crossing the Atlantic was no joke. So yeah, that's the airplane. It's made entirely of wood. There's a little bit of metal components kind of holding it together. The type was iterated on constantly through production. So there were no two S55s that were ever the same. I mean, even within the same, version or series, every single airplane had some tiny improvement from the previous one. So Jorg and I discussed it, and we decided the way to do this, to present this to the community, was to bookend the series. So we're going to have one of the 3 prototypes, which was the 3rd airplane to ever cross the South Atlantic. And then we have the very final version, which was the X, which was used to go to Chicago for the World's Fair. Funky things about the airplane you notice right away. Obviously, the high-mounted engines, they're canted at 9 degrees, which is really kind of a cool design. Keeps them out of the water, away from damage from ocean spray. But it also fires basically prop wash straight into the rudders. And using Seb's new system, it's really, really fantastic. You don't even need water rudders with this airplane. You can just give it a little boot full of power and spin it right around. It's great. I really love that addition to the sim. It's been a huge help. Like I said, the performance isn't amazing, so don't expect to be winning any races with it. Climb rates to get to 10,000 feet was probably about a 20-minute affair in these airplanes. And to get to service ceiling, 15,000 feet was an hour. But you got incredible endurance and range. The X model, the latest one, was about 2,700 miles when it was in its sort of flying gas can configuration. And even the prototype was able to do, 2,200 miles in one go, which is pretty amazing for the day. And yeah, so that's pretty much the airplane. The one final thing I wanted to say about the prototype, the one in the museum in Brazil, is the reason it's there. I mean, it was flown there by a Brazilian pilot, but the reason it stayed in Brazil was after the arrival, Savoia Marchetti didn't really want the airplane back because they had much bigger plans. They're already working on new versions and everything. So they traded it to the Brazilian Navy for the only thing that I would approve of trading an airplane for, which was coffee, and lots of coffee. So that is kind of the quick story of the S55 from Marchetti.
You want to comment on the video, Mike?
So in the video, yeah, I'll just bring it up here. So that's the S55X, at least a little bit of delay that I'm seeing. That is the later version of the airplane. It had a lot more instrumentation than the prototype. Prototype was really bare bones. It has an Scania direction finder, which was made in Germany, which is pretty cool. It basically allows you to select the heading, and you fly that heading, and it's a mechanical compass that will tell you your deviation from track. So it's one of those things you use once you get all set up in perfect cruise and good configuration for a long journey. So that's an alternative. We tried to keep the airplane as original as possible. The prototype is basically strictly original equipment, except for a comm radio, because back then they were using long wave, short wave, huge antennas, a whole radio station. It didn't really apply to the sim very easily. So that's the one, conceit to the modern world. The X has more of a flying restoration quality to it, where it has a GPS and it has a transponder. It can be used in airspace properly. Like I said, the X was probably about 150 miles an hour average speed. The prototype now, you're going to see the red one, the Yahoo, was quite a bit slower, about 115 miles an hour, but you get that fun kind of open cockpit feeling.
Wow.
And I also wanted to mention I'm a huge VR buff. It's the only way I fly. I've got a Reverb G2. I'm totally hooked, and I understand that a lot of people have issues with propellers and reprojection, a lot of flickering and things like that going on. So I'm taking extra care to get some prop animations going that are really going to work nicely with VR. But it's kind of a neat airplane to fly in VR because there's so much parallaxing going on with the crazy truss structure, and the cockpit's a lot smaller than you think looking at a 2D video. The airplane's a little deceiving in size. Some people think it's really big, some think it's really small. It's around the same size as an F-14 Tomcat, if you're curious. So these airplanes could be configured in a number of ways. You could basically outfit them as an airliner, which a couple small airlines did in Alaska and Russia. Yeah, so yeah. So yeah, that's that's the S-55 in a nutshell. It's a fantastic airplane if you want to go on a really long trip. And yeah, although one final thing I want to say about it, the prototype, there was no health and safety discussion whatsoever when they designed it, because you've got a giant 8-foot wooden spring propeller about 3 feet in front of your face, and there's another one right behind you, and you're in an open cockpit, and they forgot seatbelts. There's none.
Wow.
So
what a unique
it's a pretty wild ride.
I can't imagine flying that. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Absolutely. So that'll come out.
Good job, man.
Thanks.
Really appreciate you. So we'll see that May 17th, it sounds like. Looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
All right, we are moving on now to, let's see here, now that we have a roadmap update from you, Jorg.
Oh, should we talk about Hans? So I was thinking about it because I saw it a few times. So yeah, Hans is making progress.
Yes.
He's working with Asobo directly. So this is we think of that as co-dev work. It wasn't the right time, I don't think, for him to be here, but he's making progress. He's really happy. We have a little system where we say, how's it going from 1 to 10, 10 being awesome, 1 being terrible. He is at an 8. Everything is coming together. Plane is going to be great. But maybe we'll bring him in next time. But, honestly, I also got feedback, like at some point, stop advertising your planes all the time. It's like, okay, this is a Q&A. So we'll try to spread these out a little bit. So I'll talk to Hans if he's up for a visit next time to show you progress.
Very cool.
All right. So on the roadmap, here's the update without animations, super lame. Anyway, so we talked about the Italy and Savoia Marchetti update. Both of them are coming in May on the 17th. And then later in May on the 27th, which is what I added there. There was a cool animation. Yeah. Top Gun Maverick's coming. The build is locked. It's fun, looks great. There's a trailer coming soon. I think the Paramount people are quite proud of us, and the people who are real Top Guns also really like it. So I think you'll enjoy it. And we'll talk about it. I think Jayne does his dedicated session for this right after we launch.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then I'm breaking something, and I apologize. Like typically we update you on what's the next world update. In this case, I can't. I have to wait till our keynote. There's a keynote, there's this thing, which actually, funny enough, got canceled, called Electronic E3, Electronic Entertainment Expo. But we'll have a keynote, and we'll have lots of things to say. So that's when I can talk about the world update. So apologies, but it's coming. We're hard at work. I think it's going to be very cool. Based on what I saw in the chat, I think it'll make a lot of you happy. So June is chock full of, there's a big surprise. Look forward to that. And then a word update in the local legend.
Very exciting. Thank you, Jorg. We'll move on now to our final Q&A session. So if you have any questions in chat, feel free to post them. We'll start with one from the forums, of course. This one looks to be for Martial. So, is it possible to put the rapid takeoff points on the holding points rather than on the runways?
Yeah, it's a conversation we're having with the design team. Oh, very sorry if I made some noise during the last 10 minutes. Because somebody here a new guy from the security want me to leave the building.
Oh.
So I had to negotiate the fact that I've got to stay with you guys. So yes, regarding these starting points, it's a conversation we're having for the end of this year, because as you may know, we are talking about new ways of flying. So new ways of starting the flight, and this was also for the water planes, because so far it has not been so great. So we are talking about that, new ways of starting a flight. I don't know if we will take the waiting point as a default spawning point, because for those who are starting the simulations, the newcomers, it might be a bit hard to understand that you're not starting the flight on the ground. Well, not at least not in the alignment of the track. So it's something we're talking about, but at least it will be an option to select. So yeah, we're talking about that.
Great, thank you, Martial.
He's back. I'm hoping I will be able to stay with you.
I know. Just let us know if you need to drop, though. This question will be for you, Jorg. What are your thoughts about communicating with third-party devs when there's very open and public comments? Do you have anything you want to comment on or say regarding our third-party devs communication?
I mean, there's a dedicated thing for that, right? Which is the dev tool. I don't know what's it called, Jayne?
Dev support.
Dev support. Like, it's a balance, right? The balance always is there's a huge amount of work on the team. Like you guys are demanding, and that's fine. It's good, right? Of course, we knew this, but the team is like constantly under fire to get more features done, fix things. So we opted for this system, which is, you see the three of us ever so often. We do listen. We have our paths to get feedback, which is feedback snapshot, and then there's the dev feedback. I want to say, because some people have commented, just to take this on, like I bought the Concorde, and I think it's really cool, and I'm very sad that something broke over the sim update 9. I can tell you, we were all high-fiving each other on Friday last week, because we had a month of flighting. Many of you helped us find really good insights, and I think the build was better and better. And the fact that something happened to the Concorde was a big surprise. And I pinged Dean earlier to say, hey, let's just talk about this, because we have listening systems, right? There's the dev support listening system that literally devs read and will then take action. There's also the forums, and I don't really know how where he communicated. I saw it in the forums from you, Jayne, but then we don't take action on the forums for third-party planes. So there might just be a process hole. But in general, I think we need to just find the right balance between, hey, yeah, you want to talk to the team, but the team has a bunch of work. So I think it's going okay. But that all said, like, we are here for the community. So if it doesn't work, then we have to think about it. So far, I'm still reasonably positive what we're doing is good. But I mean, as I said, right feedback. I mean, Jayne and Sean, they have an entire team that listen to everything and bring things to our attention, because we can't read everything. And we oftentimes take actions when there's something that's popping to be important. But in this case, I think I'm still okay, unless you guys are telling me you're not.
Great. Thank you so much, Jorg. Appreciate that answer. Another question I am seeing here from Jelly Snake: will we get more ATC voices? And additional question will we be able to declare emergencies?
Well, I know yes on the first one. On the second one, I'm actually not sure. Like I know there's design stuff going on in that realm.
There's design stuff going on. To be honest, we haven't spoke about this emergency issue. I think we are talking about Maydays, and I don't know the status of that, to be honest.
Okay, no problem. All right, another chat question here. Can we get an update on synchronizing animations in multiplayer, especially propellers and landing gear? Oftentimes you do not see other players' propellers spinning or their gear going up and down, or they just get stuck together.
Well, this is a bug. We've got to fix that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know what to answer on this, except that we should fix that.
Yes, we will follow up, take a look at the bug.
Yeah.
Follow up on that. Thank you. All right, this is from the forums. Will we ever see VOR stations modeled on the ground where they are in real life?
So yes, we had a conversation about this subject. So we've got the data, we've got some meshes. Well, the fact is that we don't have the systems that flatten the terrain to have a proper integration of those meshes. We are not also 100% satisfied with the meshes we got because it's maybe a little bit more standardized in the US. I don't know, but for the European systems, it's the objects are different. So if we want to do that, we've got to do that properly. So far, we've decided not to go into that direction because VOR are used to do some navigations, but not for like visual references because they are too small. So for the moment, it has not been included into the sim, but it's always something we're thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you, Martial. And one more foreign question here. Will loss of performance with pop-out windows be revisited?
I'm sorry?
Will the loss of performance with pop-out windows be revisited? This is when you pop out a panel and the FPS drops or the performance drops.
Well, this is part of the performance issues that we've been talking about during the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's something we are following. And yes, we want to tackle that. But I don't have the status of this. Seb, do you know?
I know that there was one fix in Simulate 8, but it was not complete. And I know that it's depending on the hardware and drivers. So because the person who fixed it completely fixed the issue on his machine, and it didn't change anything on my machine. So it's so there was, I would say, a very partial fix on Simulate 8, and I think it's just on the backlog. We're going back to it in the future. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. I don't know if we can answer this question yet till Maverick, but someone did want to know, will carriers and Top Gun add-on be functional?
Ooh, functional is an interesting word. Unfortunately, there's all kinds of restrictions what we can and can't say about this damn thing. Very soon we can talk about it.
That's fine. We'll answer that later.
That's cool stuff. How about that?
Okay, no worries. All right, thanks, Jorg. Question from chat here. Is there any news on the freeware marketplace system?
It's not a system. I mean, there is already a free thing. I think we really just need to decide. Like, I honestly, like, I'll be perfectly frank. I was a little bit bummed when the fly-by-wire guys didn't want to be in our marketplace. They were there and then they pulled out for I forget the reasons, because I think that plane is great. I think there's several others that are really cool. I mean, they're on my top of my list of things that I'm waiting for. Is some of those planes that are coming in from the freeware groups. It really just comes down to speed. Like, I know it's a little bit inside baseball, but so basically, we have this ingestion team. It's run by our head of the marketplace, her name is Mabel, and they are, they're getting this flood of things their way, and we're trying our best, because in a lot of cases it's those people's livelihood. So we're trying our best to get the add-ons into the sim as fast as we can. We're building a tool. We have one programmer. We're hiring a second programmer to do this, just dedicated for making that faster. And I think freeware is kind of in the same boat because you want to update it a lot, right? It's not a one-time thing at all. So we're fighting bandwidth is still the thing. Tooling will help us a lot, and we know that. But I want to do it. It was on my list for this year, so I still want to do it this year. There's nothing technical in the way. It's really just let's just put more things in the existing free category.
Gotcha.
And then obviously people need to opt in, right? I mean, there's no, everybody who creates has the option to come to our marketplace or not. And if people want to, then let's do it.
Cool. Thanks, Jorg. What are your thoughts on the upcoming PMDG 737 and Phoenix A320?
I think they're both going to be great. Our main pilot here his name is Royal. He has been watching a whole bunch of PMDG videos lately, and we've discussed quite, because somebody said, "Oh, maybe it's not that good," and then the answer is, "No, I think it's going to be great." And we think it's going to be an awesome plane. Like that's fundamentally, and the Phoenix thing, every time I see it, I'm like, wow, that's cool. I hope honestly, my reaction is I hope they come to the marketplace so everybody has easy access to it, but it's up to them. But I think both of them, my sequence goes like this. The Concorde, I really like it. I know some people think it's, whatever opinions they have, but I'm looking forward to the 146. I actually wasn't planning on buying the 146, but I will, because I've watched all the videos and it looks really cool. And then after that, certainly the 737 looks great. And then the one from Phoenix Simulation looks awesome too. There's a few other planes. I'm like, wow, can't wait.
Yep. Helly Simmer wants to know, what's the upcoming feature you guys are most excited about?
Oh, hi Sergio. It must be helicopters, right? Come on, Sergio.
Helicopters.
It must be helicopters. Yeah. I'm honestly, I can't wait. Like with the helicopters, it means, Seb's doing awesome, right? Like, so it looks great. We have helicopter models that's coming. And that's mine, Seb. You're working on it. I don't know, what do you think?
I can say that I've been lately spending more time in the sim flying helicopters than planes. And it completely changes the feel of the world. Flying around the same places with a helicopter, I think it has a completely different experience. Like because I also look at a lot at the world with bugs and or improvements and just flying around in the plane. It's I think it's going to be great. That's what I'm waiting the most for it on the helicopters, which is in the pipe. So.
Yep.
It's cool. Like we're making some heliports with it and stuff. Like it's you can you get to other places on Earth, which is cool. Get to explore things differently and in general just learning it. It's neat, very neat. And yes, by the way, somebody said something about the fly the Mad Dog. That's another one. Looks awesome.
Just to bring you another thing, because they're both agree on helicopters. I'm really expecting the updraft visualization tools, because it really helps to understand what the other updrafts are, and especially for gliders, it's super important. So these features will also bring a lot of new ways of understanding the way you fly.
Great. Awesome. Thank you three for your thoughts on that. And I think we better wrap this up before you get kicked out there, Martial. Your lights are kind of flickering.
Yeah. It was super weird to.
I had something else, Jayne.
Yes.
Don't forget my last three slides. I wanted to say.
Absolutely. Let me move to those.
I don't know if you saw the deck came in like 2 minutes before the meeting started.
There we go.
So
Okay.
Jayne hasn't seen it. So just wanted to say thank you. So we did this. We said we would. We did it. It was great to see how well that worked. We sent a really big amount of dollars to that organization, and hopefully that helps people in the real world. Then the next slide makes me very happy, very happy. Remember this one? Yes. Guess what? I got an email from Antonov 2 days ago, back at work. So there's a Microsoft person, his name is Alex, who's helping us. Another person, Elena, is helping us. And they've been they've been driving this forward. And I wrote Andre, remember Andre from AT Simulation? I wrote him a Discord text just this morning saying, hey, we're back in business, baby. Let's get it. Let's make sure everything works.
Awesome.
But we don't have a ship date yet. Like, we want to make sure it really is great and da 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 da. But and we don't have the contract signed. So let's say it that way. But I think all indications are now really great, and I'm very, very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to the last slide. So I put that. It's funny how much people pay attention to to the thing I write there on Thursdays. So I wrote it and said, look, the plane got destroyed, or first it was half destroyed, then it was fully destroyed. And I talked to the Asobo art team and said, hey, I really want to make the 225. It needs to be preserved. And but that was just me saying it, and they were investigating, da 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 da. And then now that Antonov is back, I think we can make this work. And my goal is, we haven't figured out any of the specifics, but I want to contribute to the rebuilding of this plane. Whether or not they use the second fuselage or whatever, but like we will divert either some or all of whatever revenue comes out of this thing to the real world to try to make this plane again. That's the hope.
Thank you so much, Jorg. It's great to be that we can do something as a flight simulator to contribute. So appreciate that update. Yes, we will call it there. It is noon here. Do any of you three have anything you'd like to add before we end?
Guys?
No, I'm super glad I was able to make it until the end.
We are too.
I mean, maybe I want to say, like, it's always dangerous when we say a few add-ons. I want to just acknowledge that there's a huge amount of really great add-ons. Maybe they're not amazing airliners, so like huge machines, but I know for example, the Flight FX Vision Jet. I'm sure looking forward to that. That looks cool. The Honda Jet. I thought we'll never see it because we couldn't get a license. So like, somebody's making the Honda Jet. Yes, I will be there day one buying it. So thank you for all the third-party creators. The work is awesome, and we are very sorry when we break certain things. We are trying to not. Obviously, that's why we have these listening systems. Dean, hopefully we'll chat today if you're here. Yep.
All right. Thank you, everyone. If you want to catch our next stream, it is in just a couple hours for our flying lessons on the Cessna 172. Yes. We're going to focus on float planes today. And we appreciate you hanging out, asking questions. We'll be back again in a month to talk more. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.